just a joy. I think if it weren't for Roger, Paul Marion, and others, we wouldn't be here because there wouldn't be a Kerouac Park, and there might be a motel or something named after Jack, heavens knows what. But because of Roger and his devotion to Lowell and to the French language, to the Franco-Canadian heritage, it's possible for us to be in this most extraordinary place celebrating the work of a great author, and now we're able to celebrate the life of a great person, Roger Brunelle. Et I'm certain you want me to say pour tous mes amis qui viennent de Québec, bienvenue ici, nous sommes très heureux pour être ici. That means for all of our friends who come from Canada, we're so glad to see you again as you come every year. And for everyone else, when I first came here, Brian Foy said, David, Lowell Celebrates Kerouac as a blue collar event. And I said, and Roger was there, I said, who I met, I said, Roger, I said, life is a blue collar event. And Roger was still kind of looking at me in a suspicious way because he figured some guy who knew Jack and played with him must be some kind of a stuffed shirt. So finally, when I said that I understood there was another language that was spoken, not only when people like Jack would recite, and Roger, of course, being so scholarly, would say, Je m'étais égaré dans une forêt à quelques distances de la cataract Niagara. Just the way Victor Hugo had written it. He would say, yes, but there's another way of speaking French. I je parle français canadien aussi. And he said, no, David, there's another way of speaking French in Lowell, and we have our own version. And I said, Roger, you mean they don't speak joual? He said, no, joual was spoken for 200 years, and that term wasn't used until a French sociologist in Montreal, cultural anthropologist, used the word joual. I said, I never knew that. He said, none of these other people that are great scholars know that either, and they dismiss us as being non-existent from a culture that didn't really speak French properly. And Roger, as was mentioned, was a magnificent scholar, not only of French, but of all the languages, and he treasured the beauty of languages and the way people spoke and the way they were. And his whole family was incredible. His son Dennis lent me a piano one time when we were stuck. Roger said, no problem. He called up his son, and Dennis, with all his busy work, showed up with a piano, which I'll never forget, and saved the day, which Roger did for everyone. When we went to La Festival de la Littérature, number 12 in Montreal, they had all these heavyweight poets and writers, and he and Paul Marion came up and spoke in French and also talked about what life was like for the people who came here. And then the piece that we're going to play for you was one that Roger loved, called Un Canadien Errant. And this was such a beautiful song about a great man from the 19th century who helped Quebec to survive. And when Roger sang that, all the people, all these poets were crying. And we tried not to because we were, Paul and I were supposed to be representing, but I saw in their faces, they were feeling one of our boys went south there, that's us here, and kept our culture alive. And I told them to Roger years later, he said, someday, David, he said, when these snobs are gone, they're going to have someone who teaches the beauty of our culture as being part of a larger culture in the United States. And sure enough, Jean-Christophe, who's here, is a tenured professor at the University of Pennsylvania. And instead of being Mr. Snobola, teaches young people all of what was being said, all of what Roger taught all of us about the beauty of his heritage and how that could enrich what the Canadians call the mosaic as opposed to the melting pot. And that's a pretty wonderful thing that Roger did to make us all aware of the beauties. And so when people say, how do you describe Jack Kerouac, knowing him, I say, all you have to do to know about Jack is to read his books and come to Lowell, Massachusetts. And if you can't find Lowell, look on the map, it's there, and you'll be amazed. And there's people who want to come and know about Jack, I say, be sure to please get in touch with Roger Brunelle, because he's a teacher not only to the young, but even the old folks like myself. And we all miss him and loved him. So we're going to play Un Canadien Errant, and then for the final part when we play, there's a wonderful song by Phil Oakes called When I'm Gone, and Roger loved that too because he felt we had to do something while we were here. And then in the spirit of New Orleans, while you're all leaving and hanging out and talking to each other or dancing or not, whatever you want to do, we're going to play another favorite of his and mine, Now's the Time. And when I met Charlie Parker way back in 1952, I said, Bird, what's it like writing a song so old? And he said, well, he said, now was, now is, and now will always be the time, because now is the right time. So now finally, for his family, for all the people, the friends of his, for people who come to Lowell, now is the time to appreciate Roger and the spirit. Parce que l'esprit vive toujours. The spirit lives always. And Roger's spirit will be here just as Jack's is here. And it's just a wonderful thing that he is being honored and lived long enough to see that he was honored while he was here. And all he wanted people to do was to honor his heritage, Jack's heritage, Lowell's heritage, and the beauty of this crazy, wonderful, amazing country of ours. And the city of Lowell reflects that beauty of all the people in the world being together. So Roger, bienvenue. And finally, Theo Beckel, on his 85th birthday, was at this huge concert at Carnegie Hall. And he said, you know, David, he said, people seem upset because I'm just turning 85, so they say, okay, Theo. And he said, ladies and gentlemen, to this huge audience, he said, I've never felt better. He said, not to worry. He said, in the theater, you never die. You just go on tour. So, Un Canadien Errant, like the wonderful musicians, Mr. Kevin Twigg, who's come to Lowell for years, and Renee Hart, and my son, who, like my two daughters, was lucky enough to meet Roger so they could get an education too, Adam Amram.